sitting protesters doused with pepper spray.
I was really shocked and pretty angry about sort of how they handled that.
A slithering snake on a windshield.
That was totally unexpected.
And two old-timers battling it out for old time's sake.
That day was not a fun day.
Videos that make you want to do a double take.
We weren't expecting that at all.
Stories so shocking,
Oh my God.
I thought she literally lost her mind.
Okay, I got it.
so unique,
I heard just a little.
so original,
I dreamed up the whole proposal.
it'll have you saying,
I can't even believe that it happened.
That really just happened.
Is this really happening? Water moccasin.
caught on camera. Did that just happen?
While I was there, it seemed like, an eternity, but looking back, it's really just a couple seconds of a short video clip.
Time magazine proclaims 2011 the year of the protester as the Occupy Wall Street movement inspires dozens of similar protests nationwide. From major cities to college campuses, Americans rally by the thousands to make their voices heard. And at the University of California at Davis, just outside of Sacramento, students stage an Occupy movement of their own against a proposed tuition hike. Stephen McCone is a sophomore at the university and an aspiring videographer at Aggie TV, the UC Davis's student-run TV station.
I would say the general reaction is sort of pretty upset that tuition is still going up, and people are of course, angered by that.
What begins as a week-long peaceful exchange during the third week of November 2011 escalates into a global spectacle. On Thursday, November 17th, a few dozen students pitch tents a la Occupy Wall Street and stay overnight on the campus quad. The following morning, campus police repeatedly warn them to break down their encampments.
You've been advised that your actions constitute a violation of law. You have been given several opportunities to voluntarily cease your actions and leave this area.
That afternoon, campus cops decide to take action.
Around 3 p.m., we're all up there sort of waiting in anticipation for how they're going to handle this. And the word sort of spreads around that there's 50 or so riot police that are approaching the campus. They were told that they had to leave and by the police, who then started to sort of advance.
Whoa! How does it feel?
Those who don't comply with the police order are arrested and detained on the spot, 10 people in all.
The only resistance they were met with was people who just went limp. No one was sort of resisting arrest or doing anything to fight them, except just going on the ground and going limp.
Stay back. You're supposed to be protected! Stay back!
The crowd was sort of chanting for them to let them go and to try and get them to release them.
Set them free! Set them free!
As the protesters chant, they march toward the police and the arrested individuals who lie face down on the ground, eventually surrounding the police, making demands of their own.
If you let them go, we will let you leave! We will let you leave!
Looking around, you couldn't tell who was really part of the protest and who was really just there sort of to see it as the spectacle.
The police then give the sitting protesters a warning about what will happen if the students continue to block their way.
John Pike, the lieutenant who ends up giving the order later, actually warns each student and says, if you don't move, you're going to be pepper sprayed.
You're shooting us for sitting here. No, that's fine, that's fine.
True to his word, Lieutenant Pike sprays the sidewalk-blocking students for roughly 15 seconds as onlookers shriek and scream out for the officer to stop.
You don't really expect that after a peaceful crowd forms, that they'll be met with that kind of force or that kind of action. I was really shocked and, you know, almost pretty angry, really, about sort of how they handled that.
Stephen is not alone in his feelings.
The use of force by the police was unwarranted, particularly given that this was a nonviolent, peaceful protest.
These are not the rights. They could just be trampled on, especially not by people who are supposed to be protecting them.
Definitely a feeling in the air that's turned their anger more towards the police, I think. That's pretty angry at what's just happened.
According to the University of California's police policies and administrative procedures, chemical agents are used to minimize the potential for injury to officers, offenders, or to other persons. They should only be used in situations where such force reasonably appears justified and necessary. 9 students doused in the spray are treated at the scene. 2 more are taken to a nearby hospital and later released. But before the dust even settles, the footage is already out on the web.
At the time, we just figured that, you know, maybe more people on campus would be watching this, or maybe people locally or in Sacramento, but no idea that people around the world would be viewing this in the next few days.
An ugly incident on the campus of the University of California, Davis is drawing outrage nationwide.
The next day, University Chancellor Linda Katehi expresses her own personal remorse over the incident.
I'm here to apologize.
Lieutenant Pike and another police officer involved in the spraying are placed on paid administrative leave. 19 students and alumni involved in the spraying filed a lawsuit against UC Davis, claiming the university used excessive force to break up the demonstration. In April 2012, an independent task force concludes that the pepper spraying incident should and could have been prevented. UC Davis Police Chief Annette Spicuzza has since resigned.
I think the pepper spray incident will definitely have an effect on how police interact with students and how they deal with similar issues in the future.
Coming up, 2 old-timers from the gridiron attempt to settle an old score. And an unbelievable sight when 2 whales breach just feet from this surfer.
In 20, 30 years, they'd never seen anything like it.
When caught on camera, did that just happen? Continues. Two old-time football rivals stun the crowd when they turn a reception into a rumble.
I'm a fun guy. Unfortunately, that day was not a fun day.
To tell the story of this bizarre caught-on-camera incident, we must first turn back the clock. As a young man in the 1950s, Angelo Mosca was a big, tough guy, playing college football at Notre Dame.
The game was tailor-made for me. I was a very physical player, and at that time, the head slap was in. I did all this physical stuff, which was right down my alley.
When it's time to turn pro, instead of signing with the National Football League, Mosca decides to take his talents north.
At the time, the Canadian Football League was paying bigger money than the NFL. I said, I don't know what this CFL is all about, but I know one thing. I'm going here. I was a very, bad boy. I was the bad boy of this league.
In 1963, Mosca is playing for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and his bad boy reputation is about to go from famous to infamous. It's nearing halftime at the CFL's championship game, the Grey Cup. Mosca's Tiger Cats are playing the British Columbia Lions. The Lions' number 15, Willie Fleming, has the ball and is on his way down to the ground when Mosca, number 68, comes flying in to seal the deal.
And it was one of those bang-bang plays where I went over the top, caught the back of his head, and there was no penalty called on the play.
Newman almost has Cap. Fleming takes the pitch out, gets away from Kuntz and Henley. Cepatelli nabs the elusive Willie, and Mosca completes the stop.
Fleming leaves the game with an injury.
Uh-oh. Fleming appears injured.
And Mosca's team goes on to win the championship.
That's part of the game. I played the game the way it was designed to be played. It was just one of those unfortunate plays, and just because I did it, just so happened it had a stigma attached to it that it was a dirty play.
Mosca completes the stop.
The BC Lions exact revenge, beating Hamilton in the Grey Cup the following season, which would seem to have settled the score. But did it? Fast forward 48 years. It's November 2011 at the CFL Alumni Legends Luncheon, a luncheon to raise awareness about the Dire Needs Fund for retired CFL players with personal, physical, and financial woes. 74-year-old Mosca is seated at the same table as Willie Fleming's former teammate and retired BC Lions quarterback Joe Kapp, also in his 70s.
I didn't even know he was going to be there. This was all news to me.
Kapp, who later went on to play in the NFL, declined our request for an on-camera interview. However, both Kapp and Mosca accuse one another of mumbling disparaging remarks while seated at the table. They had just finished watching a clip of that questionable play when they're asked to take the stage together.
Mr. Angelo Mosca.
Then, in what can be called an act of half-hearted sentiment, Kapp appears to extend the olive branch, a flower from a table centerpiece, to Mosca.
When he stuck the flower in my face, he stuck the flower and I said, well, maybe you should stick it someplace else where it really grow.
The crowd roars with approval, thinking it's all an act, in good fun. But after a second attempt by Kapp, Mosca snaps.
I don't know what his intentions really were, because he didn't realize I was going to retaliate the way I did. I mean, that's the way I was, and that's the way I'm going to be. I'm not going to change just for Joe Kapp.
Kapp reacts to the cane swat with a few rights of his own, sending Mosca to the ground. It's a scene right out of professional wrestling, which, coincidentally, is what Mosca did for several years after retiring from football.
I have wrestled probably in 40 different countries. My wrestling name was King Kong. From coast to coast, I'm like honey and toast, baby.
So then, could this 70-something SmackDown be a premeditated gimmick?
First of all, if I did it as a wrestler, I would have been on top of Joe, not on the bottom. I haven't lost too many matches, so it's an incident I wish it had never happened, really.
Moments after the brief brawl, Kapp addresses the crowd.
Sportsmanship!
The crowd shouts back for Kapp to move on.
I'm trying to let it go.
Then the MC steps on stage, attempting to defuse the awkward moment.
Still some warrior blood in these gentlemen.
With that, Mosca speaks.
And I still don't believe this happened to me, but if that's the way he feels, that's fine. I've never carried this grudge. He's carried a grudge for 48 years.
Ironically, the mayhem these two Hall of Famers create overshadows their original intent to draw attention to the Dire Needs Fund.
I just wanted to get something going to see what we could do in the league and help guys who were not as fortunate as I am. I wasn't there for the physical part of the whole thing. Whatever Joe was there for, he was there for the wrong reason.
Kapp apologizes for holding on to the past.
All I can do is apologize. I hold the grudge for a long time. But I came here today, I had a flower in my hand, and I tried to give it to this fellow.
But before Kapp leaves the stage, he tells one story too many about Fleming's dog, apparently named after Mosca.
Fleming said, I named my dog Angelo. My dog is Angelo. And I kick the shit out of that dog every day.
So one of the most discussed septuagenarian fights ever proves one thing: that holding on to the Grey Cup can last but a moment, but holding on to the Grey Cup grudge can last a lifetime.
If you want to carry a grudge like that, oh my gosh, and it's 48 years later, gosh, I hope that I can dream about Joe like the way he's been dreaming about me.
Coming up, a close encounter with the world's biggest creature,
With nature, it's unpredictable. You never know what might happen.
And talk about unpredictable. A snake on a windshield?
That was completely bizarre to me and totally unexpected.
When caught on camera, did that just happen? Continues. What would you do if you suddenly found yourself just feet away from the largest living creature on Earth? Captain Ahab, watch out.
With nature, it's unpredictable. You never know what might happen.
Rick and Susie Coleman of Garden Grove, California, have been together for more than a decade and share a mutual passion for kayaking through the Southern California bight of the Pacific Ocean.
I used to row for a year at Long Beach State.
Over the past few years, they've gone on countless day-long kayaking adventures together, often paddling out several miles from the Santa Monica Bay.
I always say a prayer when I'm paddling out, and ask God watch over us.
We've been out to all the Channel Islands and kayaked around the Channel Islands, and it's just beautiful being on the water. The thing I like the most about kayaking is being out in nature and seeing all the wildlife. One day we were surrounded by thousands of dolphins. Another day some sea lions came around the kayak, so I dove in and swam with them, and they were real playful. So and every time you're on the water, it's just something unusual and remarkable, so it's just a joy being out there.
But whenever Rick and Susie are out in deep waters, several miles from shore, they can't help but hope to one day get lucky and get an up-close view of the giant blue whale.
Some weekends were hit or miss. You got to get incredibly lucky to have one come near you.
They're usually off in the distance, and you just kind of yearn to be closer to them, because it's just an amazing encounter.
It's early October 2011. Rick and Susie spend the morning paddling out roughly 6 miles into the Pacific when Rick gets an unexpected greeting.
And all of a sudden I hear, wait, was that me or did I just hear a whale? So then turn around and then I heard it again. And so yeah, sure enough, a whale had just surfaced not too far behind me. And that's when out of nowhere it came into the big lunge feed right next to the kayak. And that was really exciting because that's the closest, most exciting moment I've had with a whale. Now when I was on top of the water and you have the whale surfacing near you, that's real exciting.
Moments later, Rick does what few would dare to do. He attempts to get even closer by climbing out of his kayak into the ocean with a minicam strapped to his forehead, all to get an underwater shot of this mammal that is roughly as long as 3 school buses.
Really peaceful. It was a peaceful, magical moment.
Rick finds himself face to face with Old Big Blue, a rare occurrence for even the most faithful whale watchers.
You try and look at conditions before you go out. So many factors need to come together when you're on your kayak because the whale needs to be approaching you. That's a long shot. And so it seemed like 1,000,000 to 1 shot, but you kind of make your own luck. So I had my fins on and mask and snorkel around my neck and GoPro camera running.
Rick gets the shot he wants, but according to the National Marine Fisheries Service, vessels should get no closer than 100 yards to the whales, nor should they interrupt a whale's swim patterns.
Don't feel like we're altering their behavior at all. They seem to totally accept all the paddleboarders and kayakers in the area as part of their environment. So yeah, so the whale's the most important thing.
After celebrating with exuberance, Rick posts his video online. But immediately afterward, he's informed by someone at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration that his once-in-a-lifetime experience will remain exactly that, a one-time deal.
And he asked, for safety reasons to refrain from swimming with the whales, again, also not wanting to encourage others, and requested that I post a disclaimer on my website, which I did. So I put on there, I don't recommend doing this, and I also posted a link to the NOAA guidelines. My one concern is that not wanting to encourage anybody else to cross the line into anything that would be construed as harassment.
Their blue whale kayaking experience receives more than 1 million hits. And in some ways, Rick and Susie feel that they fulfilled a lifelong dream.
How many people get to see the world's largest animal on the planet, bigger than dinosaurs, and to have that moment with them, and you want to, I get emotional, you just want to connect with them.
It was really exciting, and then a few minutes later it really kind of set in. It was like, wow, again, did that really just happen?
Unbelievably, it happens again. Another rare encounter with not one whale, but two, this time up north along the California coast in Santa Cruz.
In 20, 30 years, they'd never seen anything like it.
It's late October 2011, and friends Barbara Retker and Adam Lacey spot several humpback whales in the Monterey Bay practicing a group feeding technique called bubble net feeding, where the whales blow bubbles around schools of fish, creating a food ball.
That food ball moves around like a lava lamp would move around, so the whale will then come from up underneath and come up in the middle of that ring of bubbles with the mouth open.
Like many whale watchers in the area, Barb and Adam rent a kayak and paddle around the bay. Having no luck spotting any humpbacks, they begin paddling back to shore.
I saw these birds. I'm like, let's just go on over there. It was out off the shore. And lo and behold, there was a whale. We got maybe 3 spouts or something, and we were so ecstatic.
But I was watching where they had been previously, and then all of a sudden they came up. We weren't expecting that at all.
And the next thing you know, they're coming right next to me.
Barb decides to focus in on a woman wearing a bikini and lying on a surfboard.
The reason I was filming her is because she wasn't wearing a wetsuit, and the water is freezing here. It's like ice water year-round. So I was like, look at her without a wetsuit. So I had my camera on her, and boom, out of the water come these 2 humpbacks lunge feeding.
Barb's perfect positioning and steady hand help her capture a stunning moment, rarely seen. Her video of this spontaneous humpback lunge brings perspective to the enormity of this marine mammal.
Having that woman and the kayakers in the background gives you some perspective of how huge they are. Their 80,000 pounds are coming up out of the water next to a human. You realize, wow, they are huge, magnificent animals.
But Barb's next thought is not far behind.
I could see they were coming straight up, and they were going straight down, and I realized, you know what, this is a little too close for comfort. It's time to get out of here.
Barb and Adam paddle back safely, having been up close and personal with these 40-ton behemoths. When Barb posts the video online, it immediately goes viral, garnering more than 7 million hits with lots of surprising viewer input.
We got all kind of comments from, wow, oh my God, to this is fake. Where's the wake from the whale? And it got out of control. I just finally just took it down. You know, just let the footage speak for itself.
Barb is in disbelief about the close encounter. Yet after her experience, she's still torn about the relationship she and other whale watchers have with these marine mammals.
It was really a tug of war of wanting to be close to them and at the same time knowing, hey, we're in their space.
Coming up, you might have heard about snakes on a plane, but a snake on a windshield?
We were like, is this really happening right now? I mean,
and who needs Novocaine when a mini motorcycle will do?
I heard just a little. Yeah.
When caught on camera, did that just happen? Continues. Imagine the reaction you'd have if while driving down the freeway, you saw a snake slithering across your windshield.
this is a water moccasin, a huge water moccasin.
That was completely bizarre to me and totally unexpected.
It's a typical summer afternoon for the Fisher family of Memphis, Tennessee. Parents Rachel and Tony are in their car with their 3 small children, having just left Rachel's parents' home. Tony is in the passenger seat, and Rachel is behind the wheel.
We had been driving for about 15 minutes, and all of a sudden Tony tells me, there's a snakehead.
I looked up out of the corner of my eye and I was like, it's a snakehead. And then I looked back down, started studying again, and then I did a double take and I was like, what in the world?
I kind of, look over for a minute and he does a double take too and gets out his phone.
Being a daddy of now 3, you just, anytime anything happens, your phone's ready to start videoing.
And we watched this snake come out from in front of him on the passenger side and start rearing up in front of him and sliding across our windshield wipers and then over to my side.
And before they know it, a 4.5-foot rat snake turns their regular routine into a terrifying adventure.
But I know nothing about snakes. So I'm just thinking it's a poisonous snake, and at that point I'm just freaking out.
The Fishers' next scary thought is that the snake must have crawled up from the car's engine. And if that's the case, was there a chance it could slither its way inside the car?
I mean, we don't know anything about how cars are put together. We thought, can it get in somehow through the vents? And that's what we were thinking. I mean, we're going 60 miles an hour down an interstate.
For now, the snake is hanging on.
It stays on there for like over 2 minutes. I mean, we didn't see how it was gonna fall off, how we were gonna make it get off, and I kept thinking, how are we gonna park? How are we gonna get out of the car? How are we gonna, get the kids out of the car? Are we gonna have to sling it and then run away from it? Because at this point, we still think it's poisonous.
The rat snake is not poisonous, but of course the Fishers don't know that, and it doesn't make their experience any less creepy.
When it started to crawl down my door, it just gave me the willies. I didn't really think about doing anything other than continue to drive.
You're not thinking about slamming the brakes at 60 miles an hour, pulling off to the side of the road and trying to get it off, on the median so that it can live. That's not what you're thinking about. You're thinking about your family's safety, which is exactly what we were thinking about.
The snake falls off the driver's side mirror onto the road, never to be seen again by the Fishers. Tony shows the video to a few amazed friends and then posts it online.
Insane.
Within days, the video is everywhere.
Creepy stowaway made a Memphis family's skin crawl.
And all of a sudden, the Today Show was calling it. All these places were calling. We were like, is this really happening right now?
I don't know how they're driving straight. I would have been like off the highway.
That would really get your attention.
It's creepy.
Seeing the video on like the front page of BBC News on their website, that was pretty crazy.
I mean, it's a cool thing. If somebody had showed it to me on their phone, I would have been like, that's pretty crazy. That's amazing to see, but I would not have expected it to go viral.
However, with more than 1 million hits, many viewers criticized Tony and Rachel for how they handled the situation.
From the YouTube community, we've heard some just hateful comments, and that was probably the most surprising thing of the whole experience of the snake on the car video. We weren't out to kill a snake that day. We were just driving, and that's what happened to us.
Their 3 small children seated in the back missed the entire ordeal. But someday, Tony and Rachel hope to share their unusual serpentine encounter with them.
Ready, jump!
As the kids get older, I think it's going to be really fun to show them the video. I think that'll be a neat little family story.
So for now, things are back to normal for the Fisher family, with one small exception.
All right, we're good.
Okay, I got it.
What do you get when you mix the children of a risk-taking parent, a loose tooth, and a mini motorcycle? A recipe for some of the oddest family dentistry ever caught on camera.
I have all these cameras laying around, so I was like, might as well put them to use.
Dave England of Ojai, California has 2 children, 10-year-old Ruby and 7-year-old Rowan, who have been at it since Dave can remember.
They're just like your classic siblings. They're always bickering over something, and always out doing something, always up to some little mischief, and they're good kids though.
If you think Dave's face may look familiar, it's because he's one of the guys in the cast of the Jackass movie franchise.
What we do on Jackass isn't for little kids, so having 2 little kids, I don't let them watch it in its entirety. But Seth, the editor over at Jackass, he puts together little clips that are safe enough, I feel, for them to see.
One clip, featuring cast member Aaron McGahee, grabs the kids' attention and never lets go.
Stoked?
This one stunt where they pull Aaron's tooth out with like a hot rod or something, and I thought it'd be real funny if we did a motorcycle video.
And as fate has it, Rowan happens to be at an age where loose teeth are in abundance.
When Rowan's front tooth became loose, Ruby really wanted to do it, and I wasn't sure about it, so I pulled that out with a string and kind of imagined what that would be like to be pulled out by a motorcycle. And it really didn't seem that bad. It came out pretty easily, and as long as, you know, you get the motion going to the right directions.
I saw the video of my dad pulling it out like that, and it made a crazy noise, and I was like, wait a minute, motorcycle? I'm like, we should pull his tooth out with a motorcycle.
Of course! Who wouldn't think of that?
It's a huge face now.
My dad was standing right there, and I was like, Dad, we should do it.
When the next tooth over became loose, I was like, you got it. Let's see what you can do.
Ruby hatches her scheme with Dad's approval. But what about Rowan? He is the guinea pig after all.
I wanted to do it, but when we were gonna, I felt a little scared. You don't want to think about it too much.
With 3 cameras rolling, Ruby ties a string around her brother's loose baby tooth. But not without Rowan getting in a verbal jab or two.
Lean back and open your mouth. I don't know how to tie. Yes, I do. And your hand stays disgusting. I'm not going to touch your mouth. Open up. I can't see. Lean backwards. Your breath stinks. Lean backwards. Your breath stinks. Lean backwards. I'll hold my breath.
Rowan reels in anticipation. Ruby revs up the engine and lets her rip.
I hurt just a little bit.
The pint-sized stunt is executed to perfection, except for one minor detail.
Well, it got lost in the gravel.
The loose tooth flies from Rowan's mouth, landing, well, no one is quite sure where it lands.
We didn't know if it was in the driveway or it flew onto the side, but it was probably in front by the gravel. So I thought that I was probably gonna find it, but I didn't.
There was a little lack of foresight there where, you know, where the tooth would be left is all the gravel. I didn't really think that one through. It was just, I just kind of was thinking, you know, where's a good place for her to take off on the motorcycle, and then we could not find the tooth, and that's kind of unfortunate.
As far as Rowan is concerned, he has some explaining to do to a certain dental pixie.
Dear Tooth Fairy, I am sorry I lost my tooth from a motorcycle. Well, to make up for that, I just wrote a note to the Tooth Fairy, so I would still get the money, probably, but I still did.
After viewing the video, one can't help but notice that, at least in this instance, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Still, Dave insists that the bumps and bruises he's taken on Jackass have had a reverse effect on Ruby and Rowan.
They're more cautious than the average kid because they see me coming home all beat up all the time, and they're like, they don't want to end up like that, you know?
Well, hold on to that thought, Dave, because according to your kids, they're not through yet.
We're trying to make a kids TV show. It's not going to be named Jackass Jr., but it's kind of like that. And it's like safe stunts, but like pulling pranks on people, and we really want to start that show, but we haven't been able to yet.
Coming up, a couple's love story makes its way to the silver screen.
It was just an unreal moment.
But first, it's this couple that makes quite a scene.
I hate you so much.
When caught on camera, did that just happen? Continues. It's a train wreck of a different variety when a vicious personal attack plays out in a very public setting.
Oh my God. I had no intentions that she was just gonna hit him, spit on him, kick him, do all that stuff.
Oh, wow.
For millions of commuters, riding the rails is a time to sit, kick back, and enjoy the peace and quiet. But on November 29, 2011, on New Jersey Transit's Riverline train, that all comes to a screeching halt. It's late afternoon, and college student and restaurant employee Cassandra Laws of Palmyra, New Jersey, is on the train platform on her way to work. She notices a young couple at odds and instinctively pulls out her camera phone.
I started recording on the platform because I thought he was gonna like eventually snap before we even get on the train. Like I thought he was gonna hit her and everything, but he just kept walking away from her.
The train arrives, and Laws and the arguing couple board the same car. By now, the young woman is causing a scene.
Oh, wow.
Everybody got on the train, they sat down, and they were just watching her act out on this boy that clearly didn't do anything like back to her, like didn't call her any names or anything.
The young man just sits there.
Not gonna mistreat me and think it's okay. Not okay to mistreat girls.
After seeing the young woman spit, kick, and nearly push the man off the seat, at least one passenger has had enough and speaks up.
Both of you sit down and shut up.
The passenger reports the couple to the conductor, who stops the train and contacts authorities.
You know why they sitting here, right? Because they're going to call the cops on y'all for in here acting up. That's why we sit. I bet you people come get y'all off the train.
I thought they would have stopped after she said that, but she obviously didn't care. That's when we heard the announcement saying that the train is delayed, the cops are on their way and everything.
We will be delayed, the police are on their way.
See? I knew that.
The police are on their way, but the angry woman doesn't seem to care. She continues to assault her boyfriend, beating him relentlessly. But why? Commuters are about to find out.
I thought it was something a little bit more, you know, like more of a deal.
So you're gonna cheat on me?
She said that he cheated on her, and we were just like, I don't know. She was like kind of like the comic relief, like with that. I was just like, really?
2 years I gave you, 2 years of me. So you're gonna cheat on me?
That's all for cheating? That's all.
That's all?
Transit police arrive on the scene and escort the troubled twosome off the train.
She was really cool when they came. She acted like she didn't do anything wrong, and they looked like they was going to arrest the wrong girl, and then that's when she started like resisting arrest.
That's what she needs.
That's right. This petite pugilist still has some venom left and continues her throwdown, this time with the police.
I thought she literally lost her mind. Like, I really couldn't explain how shocked I was.
The assailant, Lisa Al-Yunus of Westville, New Jersey, is arrested for domestic violence assault, resisting arrest, assault on a police officer, and disorderly conduct. The case is still pending. The scene is over, but the question remains, why didn't anyone come to the abused boyfriend's defense?
If we like got involved, wouldn't we be facing possible charges ourselves for, you know, being in an altercation on a public, you know, transportation?
Laws posts the video online and admits she initially didn't take the incident seriously.
What the heck?
But after having seen the video several times, she has second thoughts.
It's still abuse, no matter who does it, man or female. If it was her in that situation, a lot of people would have came to her honor and like saved her day. He sat there and ate all those punches and everything, but if he hit her back, he's wrong.
Al-Yunus spends 4 weeks in jail. On the advice of her attorney, she's denied our request to be interviewed. Al-Yunus may or may not learn from this experience, but she'll definitely have to learn to live with the fact that once it's caught on camera, it lives forever.
Oh, wow.
Coming up, you've seen what can happen when love goes wrong, but romance done right, one couple's fairy tale ending. When caught on camera, did that just happen? Continues. It's a love story with a Hollywood ending, one that forged its way onto one big screen and millions of little screens worldwide.
I just, thinking back on it, I can't even believe that it happened.
Matt Still and Ginny Joyner of Locust Grove, Georgia start dating in the fall of 2010. By their second date, Matt already knows that Ginny is the one for him.
We were having dinner at my house that I'd made for her.
He did the whole thing. He did the candles, the rose petals, he had his roommate dress up in a three-piece suit and act like our waiter.
And she fell out of her chair, and when she got up, she said, oh my gosh, Matt, I feel like I'm in a movie. And I said, no, we're gonna make the movies jealous.
Making the movies jealous. It's a spontaneous thought, that immediately takes root in Matt's head.
That night I had a dream that I was gonna marry this girl, and I dreamed up the whole proposal, and it just stuck from that day.
His dream? To surprise Ginny with a marriage proposal by way of a movie trailer. It's an ambitious idea, one that Matt knows he can't pull off by himself. So he contacts friend and local video whiz Michael Mueller to help make his dream a reality.
So I'm like, okay, and I'm thinking, you know, just some bullet points, like I'd like to do this. But it was like a script, you know, like you had to sign a disclosure form to like read this, right? So I'm like, okay, he definitely knows exactly how he wants it done.
For nearly a month, Matt and Michael collaborate, writing, shooting, and editing a video marriage proposal for the ages, titled, What Else?
Making the movies jealous. A love story so true, it couldn't have been written.
In the faux trailer, Matt asks Ginny's dad for her hand in marriage,
I'd like to have your blessing, sir. May I have your daughter's hand in marriage?
then sets off to get his gal.
I would love to have you as a son-in-law.
There's a lot of things in that video that people don't know about, that there's a lot of deep meaning behind it, like where me and her dad are talking. You know, that's a church camp that she grew up at.
What are you waiting for?
Their video short is full of twists, turns, and even cinematic nuances.
I said, wouldn't it be funny? There's all this anticipation, big build-up, right? He's coming. She knows by this time that he's coming to the theater, right? Stops for popcorn and takes his time with it. You know what I mean? It had romance, it had suspense, it had comedy, it had everything wrapped up into 7 minutes.
However, creating the video is only half the job. The other half, keeping Ginny in the dark.
She'd be calling Matt, and I'm like, she never does this. She never like, where are you at, or what are you doing? I don't know if she kind of got like a sixth sense of something going on.
Many nights that I was just like, God, I'm just gonna forget it and just do it, you know, because that was what was important.
But Matt stays true to his vision and is able to convince Ginny's brother to take her to the movies and make certain that she is seated in a specific seat designated to catch her reaction on camera as it's happening.
Thank goodness her brother, he got her right to where she needed to be, and the camera was hidden.
From there, it's lights, camera, reaction.
I just want you to know that I love her too, and I am by no means trying to steal her away from you.
I had all these thoughts going through my head, and I obviously knew that was Matt's voice.
I want to spend the rest of my life with her. She is my heart.
And I knew it was my daddy's hands. So I was in and out of belief and disbelief the whole time.
May I have your daughter's hand in marriage?
You have my permission.
When he said, what are you waiting for? Matt was like, and then started running. That's when I was like, oh gosh, he's coming here. Like, he's coming to ask me.
Matt enters the theater just at the right moment and drops to one knee.
Will you give me the honor? And will you marry me?
Then, Matt reveals the final surprise. An audience stacked with their family and friends, all seated in the back so Ginny wouldn't notice them in the dark theater.
And he turned me around, and my family and friends were all up in the stands, and it was just an unreal moment. And like I said, I just, thinking back on it, I can't even believe that it happened.
Ginny says yes, and the mission is accomplished flawlessly. Matt and Michael post the video on the internet, complete with Ginny's reactions.
The only reason we even posted online was because there was some people that were supposed to be in the theater that day that weren't able to come, and everybody's like, oh, we got to see it, you know?
They saw it all right. So did more than 20 million others. Matt and Ginny become overnight YouTube sensations, scoring rave reviews from countless viewers.
I think that it's good for people to see a true love story.
The best emails that I've received is from people that have been married for years, and they say, you know, I was really in a slump with my marriage, and me and my wife, we watched your video, and it renewed, you know, our love for each other.
People's girlfriends see that, and they're like, well, why didn't you do the Matt Still proposal? You know, it's like, how do you beat that, you know?
There's a new video that the couple is watching over and over again these days, their wedding day, which took place on Thanksgiving weekend 2011. And so, their love story continues.
What Matt does for me makes me feel like the luckiest woman in the world.
I'm still living a dream because I get to marry the most incredible woman I've ever met.